Hey, Principal PLN crew! Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun already. Dancing to NKOTB. How's it going, Spike and Teresa?
It's fantastic. How could it not be? It's 11 o'clock in the morning, number one. And number two, hello.
Hello, we're rocking
Yeah,
the 80s today.
What?
It's the best morning ever.
It is. And we have Amy Fadege, which is even more fun when you're dressed in Amy's gear.
Okay, so should I tell why we have Amy Fadege and why we're in the 80s?
I think that's a good idea.
Sure.
So last week
people don't think we've totally lost our rockers.
Yes. Okay, well, first of all, this isn't to signify that principals go crazy. This is to show that we're not always serious, that we can have fun and be creative. So at the end of our last podcast, we were trying to figure out what should we talk about next. And I don't know who started it, but I, thought about what if we talk to a principal who's already started the school year, so it's like talking to somebody in the future. And then Spike went all Back to the Future and the DeLorean and, the professor. And then we thought, Teresa and I got into the 80s and ratting our hair, and then that immediately went to Fadege. I think her response was, and I quote, "You had me at ratting my hair." So, Teresa, do you want to introduce Miss Fadege?
I do, but before I do, Amy, I want to tell you that you look positively fedazzled this morning.
It's like the Material Girl.
Oh my gosh, thanks guys. It's kind of sad how easily I could find all of these pieces this morning. I'm getting dressed, but I have my staff actually. We had a rock star day last year, so it was all a nice little sweet box. This bad boy. Yes.
I love it. So Amy and I were on a panel. We were the girl power on a panel at NAESP regarding innovation and connectivity, and we instantly became buds because I don't know how you could not have fun with Amy. Good grief. And Amy introduced us to the selfie stick, which ended up being an amazing thing because if you were at Ed Camp Leader, you know that Joe Mazza made us all go get selfie sticks before Ed Camp Leader so that we could take a Fadege-esque selfie at the end of the day, because Amy at the end of our presentation got everybody in the entire room, all 120 people, in one, well, except Brad because he just didn't make the cut, but whatever. That's another story. Into one big selfie, and so it was amazing. Amy is a principal in Petaluma, California. She is at K-5, correct, Amy?
K6, yeah.
K6. And I was just listening the other day in the car. I was listening to my roll of Brand Ed podcasts from Joe Sanfilippo and Tony Sinanis, and I came across, I was listening, the beginning they have all those little, and I was like, I know that voice. And it's Amy Fadege's episode. And they were talking about how she has the most amazing hair in the state of California, which I have to believe is true. And that also, hello. And that when you became the principal in California, you were, if I remember correctly, the youngest principal in the state of California. Is that correct?
I did, just for fun, coin the hashtag California's youngest principal. I was 29. But I think there's some hot competition coming in close, but I'll claim it for now.
I was actually 26.
But you don't live in California, so it doesn't count.
So she still wins.
But your hair does look better than me, so I'll give it.
But so when I shared our topic for today, Kurt Reese actually said, Fadege's probably never even seen Back to the Future. And Tom Whitfer said he has wrinkles that are older than you.
Yeah, not yet.
So I think actually Amy and I were talking about 80s pictures because when she sent me hers, I was like, oh my gosh, she's a baby. But then I looked at any of mine and I was like, she's a year younger than my brother. So I'm like, she's like, but I think Jess, you and Amy are pretty close to the same age.
Yeah, I'm 3 years older than you.
Yeah. So then Joe sends out this Twitter tweet yesterday that says something about, oh, how we're all so cute because our only memories of the 80s are juice boxes and Play-Doh.
Which is true.
Which is kind of true. So I'm going to go ahead and just thank him for the compliment.
Great. Yeah, a total compliment. I mean, we got to keep these old guys young and fresh, you know?
Yeah.
We don't want their ideas to go stale.
Joe gets too serious. He needs to have fun.
It's awful. I can barely talk to the guy. Oh, man.
So Amy has already started the school year because you go year round.
Yeah.
So they went back a couple weeks ago. And so when we were talking about people to have on here, we had talked about people who had already gone back to work with their staff, but then we said, well, you know, even better, let's get somebody who went back to work with the kids and everything. So we figured you were the perfect person to have on here and tell us all about how fun it is.
Well, I'm so excited to be with you guys. Thanks for thinking of me, and it is really, I think it's really special. I've been having this like real reflective time the last couple of weeks. I only know of one other school that's in session, actually two other schools in all of California that are in session right now. And so it's really fun because we end up getting like all sorts of visitors and people call for all sorts of different things. And so that's just been really fun to get to connect with people while we're in session. So Pen Grove is year round, and it's a K-6 with about 400 students. So we have a 6-week summer, and then we get this awesome 3-week fall break, which is really nice in September and October. So weather's awesome and travel is cheap. And so we're already gearing up towards that. So our teachers came back on July 17th, and you can imagine, especially if you're a teacher that's changing grade levels or classrooms and you only have a 6-week summer, that starts feeling really short. So we try to keep our teachers off campus as much as we can just so that they can enjoy time, but I'm not very successful at that, just one of a few things. But for me, I had, as I'm sure most of us do, a long list of things I wanted to do in June, and like barely anything got crossed off that list. And at first I was feeling really disappointed in that. Like I wanted to do a new staff handbook, not like a handbook, but online version. And I wanted to like just get some systems and procedures kind of in place. And what I ended up spending time doing instead was working with our custodians closely all summer long. We just got new furniture in all of our classrooms, which was through a bond for our whole district. So Petaluma City Schools this year is crazy for us. We're doing active learning environments with brand new furniture in all of our classrooms. We have 7,000 students, and we're also going one-to-one iPads. So is that
That's
like
a year?
Yeah. Sorry. And we also installed 65-inch TVs in our classrooms this summer. So I ended up spending a bunch of time doing jobs, as I know we all do, that I didn't anticipate would need me or would warrant my time or attention. And so so I didn't get anything done, but in the sense from my to-do list. But what I did find myself having the opportunity to do was just to connect more with the people on my campus, and to just like, now that I was down in the trenches, like helping people figure out their TVs and putting wheels on tables and all that kind of stuff, I feel so much more connected to everything that's happening on my campus. So my advice for 8 o'clock on a Saturday, apparently I can't talk, just some things to think about as you start your new school year. To start reconnecting with the people that you're going to be doing work with for the school year. So I met with my PTA president. I had a parent email me some questions, and I said, hey, let's meet down at the local coffee shop. Like these little things that are a little bit harder during the school year, I started finding myself like in the community a little bit more. I went to a local parade. So I tried to just start like stepping back into things and really just taking time to be there, making connections with the community and parents and teachers, and being there when people needed us. I started sending some email and remind messages and texts to staff, just like, hey, keep enjoying your summer. Here's a little something that's waiting for you when you come back, and just keeping trying to get people excited, but know that I'm fully supporting, like, don't step back into work yet, But also I wanted people to know that, I'm working on this, I'm thinking about this schedule's changing, I'm here for you when you're ready to work on it with me. So,
I always struggle with that of, I want to share information with teachers so that, because I have it ready, and I do have people who want it, but I don't want them to feel like they have to work yet.
Yep. And I struggle with that too, but I kind of think that I really put it on my staff. Like, if you want to be gone for 6 weeks, then you do that, and you're gonna have 10 emails from me when you come back, and that's totally fine. Like, I'm not expecting anything from you in that meantime. But if you're someone who wants to be more connected along the way and just like have little frequent check-ins, that's there for you as well. So, you know, and I think like every relationship's different with my different staff members. Like, I'll have teachers who want to check in daily, and then others who I don't hear from for 4 weeks, and it works well, you know, just depending on each relationship. So I think that just goes back to knowing your people, and I just have made it real clear, Jess, like, hey, I'm here when you guys need this, and excited to work with you, you know, and it works out all right. But I know I do always feel a little bit bad when I push the send button, but they know that there's no expectation for me on the other side, you know. So one thing that I would recommend too is just making sure that you have uninterrupted time to plan what you want that first couple days to look like with your staff. All those details, like I almost forgot to order lunch. I provide breakfast and lunch on day 1, and it was like 2 days before. And so anyway, I ended up, you know, just like all those little things. So the food organization, and we organized some guest speakers to come in on day 1. So having all that done was great too. So that's kind of like the before step. And then, are you guys good with me just jumping into kind of what day 1 looked like for us?
Yeah, for sure. But you know what, Amy, before you go any further, just give us a heads up on what your building looks like. So how many teachers do you have? How many students do you have? So when you talk about, you know, things that you're doing for your staff, so that we kind of have an idea of what your building size is.
So 22 teachers, 16 classrooms, K-6, 400 students, and a staff of about 40. And we don't say building in California, Teresa. I don't know what we say. Campus,
campus, yeah. Right? Yes.
Yeah. Kurt
is
really trying to work on saying that.
Yeah. My sister-in-law is in Texas,
Arizona.
and she's, their campuses.
And your hallways are the sidewalks. It was amazing.
Yeah, all of our classrooms open up to outside, so there's not like a actual building that you're in, except our admin building is. It is all inside, which is kind of fun. So, but I taught in Mobile, Alabama, and so I was definitely in like a building at one time. So, all right, day 1. So my goal for day 1 was for it to be light and fun, and for all of us to just reconnect. And I think the biggest mistake that any of us could do would be just to be shoving all sorts of new initiatives and curriculum talk and devices and all this kind of stuff down everyone's throats. And I try my best to not do nuts and bolts, anything that could be in a Google Doc or that people could read on their own. I'm going to let them do that by themselves or with their team. So our staff agenda, which I'll tweet it out later. I have a one that I can share with you guys. Our staff agenda was about 4 hours of time together. And then like 8 pages below of nuts and bolts of things you need to know, schedule changes, and all the nitty-gritty. But one of the things, so we all came together, we had breakfast, and then we introduced some new staff members. And then something I did differently this year is I had our custodians come in. Fred and Keith are amazing, and they gave just a report about what they've been doing on school over summer, and that was a real unexpected outcome for me. Like, the teachers' faces were just lit up with like the pride that these 2 gentlemen took for our campus, and they were clapping for them and asking questions, and that was a really that was like something little that really kind of surprised me, that I thought, oh, I'll never start another school year without hearing from having like the rest of the staff get to hear what's been going on campus. So that was fun. And then I brought in a lot of video this year. Just been inspired by some friends of mine, Kyle Peace in particular, who has amazing videos that he shares in the keynote that I've heard him do a couple times. And so I stole some of those videos just to, like, I really wanted to hook in that human, like, kindness and human spirit and get us just all, like, on the same place of why are we doing what we're doing. You know, we could sit here and talk about iPads and Common Core all day long. No one wants to do that right now. Like, we're all just coming off of summer.
Yeah.
And so we laughed together, we cried together. I brought in a couple guest speakers to just share some experiences. A new principal that we hired in the district, he'd been teaching with a lot of technology in his class for the past few years, so he shared he just came and was like, oh my gosh, it's summertime and you guys are back in school and I just want to encourage you, and here's some crazy things I did in my classroom, and just kind of watching everyone's like, oh, filter come down. Our staff is amazing, and we went on a photo walk. So I gave them some instructions on a task that I wanted them to do. So they went on a photo walk with their new iPads, and that was a huge learning curve for the teachers because it was the first time they've used their teacher iPads, and they had to download new apps that are not on the iPad. And then our whole staff's on Twitter, but not everyone uses it real frequently. So that was another step. It was like, take these pictures, go off with some friends. They are laughing all over campus, taking all these pictures. They're using photo collage apps, and then they had to tweet their finished product out. So that was a whole, how do I get Twitter? What's the hashtag? Blah, blah, blah. So that was super fun. So for like a solid hour and a half, tons of learning, stretching, productive struggles. And so that was like the easiest task, but it was so complex. And so that was a real highlight for during our little time. You guys need to interrupt me?
No. I was actually watching, Amy had shared her back to school stuff with us, and I saw that photo walk, and I thought it was really, really cool. It's a very fun idea, especially for teachers who just receive new devices. That's a big deal. But funny, no, I put in our NAESP chat that I had dropped the Fedazzled on our podcast. We have a group that we had with our NAESP group that we keep changing the title of it, and I think Joe Mazza changed it to Fedazzled, and so we've been using it as a verb and an adjective and anything else. And so Brad Gustafson, I believe, has joined the chat, and he said he's excited for the Principal PLN crew to join forces with the one and only Amy Fadege, and he is signed in as Brad Dazzled.
That was awesome.
So
Brad Dazzled, let me give you a quick little advice. The one thing that I didn't forget about it this year as we started, but I didn't have my schedules all totally finished. We actually had a teacher that transferred to another site like 2 days before school started, unexpectedly. A really beloved teacher who we all adore, and for family reasons she needed to go to another site. So, I mean, one day she and I and her partner teacher, we were at school till like 10:30 at night, cleaning out her classroom, packing up. And that in itself, if you're a principal who wouldn't find yourself doing that, that's a problem. But anyway, things were happening right before school started, and so I never was able to finish all my schedules. My librarian couldn't connect with me about library, and I just found that not having that ready on day one for everyone, so we waited till our next staff meeting. We had students for a day and a half. That didn't feel good to the staff. It created extra anxiety, extra stress. Even though we're not starting library for 3 weeks, people still want to know, when's my library time? And I totally get that. So that was a big takeaway for me this year, was just to, whatever it takes, make sure that all your schedules for your specials and all of that are done ahead of time. Even yard duty, which we have out here. I don't know if you guys do that.
Accessory. So, Amy, yeah. I hate schedules. Last year in Evernote, I used the Remind feature, and I wrote myself a note to the future. Funny that this is back to the future episode. And it literally said, "Dear Jessica, you always do it. You save the schedules for the end of August, and then you're stressed and frazzled, and you can't think about important things like your staff meeting and opening the year, so get them done now." And I'm almost done.
Good.
So,
good. Yeah. It is the worst. It is. The yard schedule is so bad.
It is, and it's just the puzzle of it. But it's it's not only that the teachers want to know when their schedules are going to be, but they create all their cute little calendar things and all of their great all of their great things, and they want them done, and they want them laminated. I mean, I remember having teachers when I was the music teacher having all of their stuff done and up on the boards, and then one of the first grade teachers would be like, "I cannot have my prep at the end of the day because I need the kids to get ready, and they're not back in time. I need to switch it." And whoever switched it was losing their mind because they had to redo all their stuff.
Special ed or speech pathologist, they need to figure out when teachers' schedules are to know when to schedule them.
Right. Yeah. There's so much that has to happen after.
And I've been there. That's not fun.
I think I'm going to start on that in May and June of this school year. I tell myself
that every year and it never happens.
Okay, well, can we help ourselves? let's dress in 80s and put on New Kids on the Block and just be in our offices together and be like, what are you doing?
I love it. And Google Hangout it.
We're doing it.
We're going to be doing it for Amy like our last week of school because she's almost done with summer by the time we're out of the building.
Oh yeah, we finished the first week in June.
Yeah, we do too. But you guys have quite a lot to do in those 6 weeks. And I feel like Amy, wasn't there a struggle or something with the with your furniture? Wasn't something delivered wrong or it came late, or was that you?
Oh yeah, we had a few struggles. So I'm like, oh, which one was that? You know, they always feel like the worst thing ever that day. We had some stuff coming in late and incomplete, and but overall, it's all good. No worries. Can I share with you guys about our school theme real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay. So last year I had the idea to just do a school theme because, as we all know, we can get going like all these different ways, and I just wanted something to like tie us back together, and it had nothing really to do with an initiative or curriculum or anything. We did dive in last year, and so after our first, so we've been together day one, staff's back. We've just spent 4 hours together. We always brainstorm hopes and dreams for the year, and everyone just throws out whatever, and we write it up on the board, and it's a really fun time. So then after that chunk, everyone comes out to lunch, which I provide, and then we unveil our theme. So last year was dive in, and we had like kiddie pools set up and beach balls and snorkels. Like, I can get crazy at the dollar store. Like, don't. So we had a picture of us with like dive in. So all it was like last year we just kept saying like dive in, like we're trying something new, just don't wait, just dive in, like I'd run around with a snorkel every now and then. And anyway, really fun to see like little goggles hanging up in teachers' classrooms and things like that. So this year our theme was saddle up. And I told some of my teachers that what I really wanted to say was, put your big girl panties on, but I didn't think that'd go over real well. So we went with saddle up. And so that was just super fun. Right before I left the staff time together to go put my cowboy boots on and make sure everything was ready out there, I asked the staff to just spend like 5 minutes. Okay, we've heard from some guest speakers. The superintendent came and welcomed us. We did a photo walk. We reminded ourselves of why we use Twitter to share our school story. We spent time reconnecting. I want you guys to just take like 2 or 3 minutes to reflect on what you want for yourself this year. And I gave them some sentence starters like, I wonder, or this year I want, if I could. And so every staff, and then I left the room. And I figured like I was hurrying out there to get everything ready for saddle up. And I figured they'd be out there in like 2 or 3 minutes. And like 10, 15 minutes goes by. And every teacher was just like, they took this little reflection activity seriously, and really like the sweetest, nicest things that they wrote about, like, I want my students to jump out of bed in the morning and want to be in my classroom. And I want to encourage like creativity and just all these amazing things. Actually, I need to put all their little cards into a slideshow and share it out because it's really neat. So those are now hanging in our staff room. And they finally made their way out to our little saddle up luncheon. And then we decorate our whole staff room with whatever that is, with twinkly lights. If you don't have twinkly lights in your staff room, it will change your life. So make sure that happens. I'm serious. It's so amazing. So anyway, so that has just been, that was fun, just having like our school theme. Totally not necessary, but just a fun thing to bring back. And like when people are in our staff room now, they're like, yeah, saddle up and look at all these amazing things that we have going on,
That's cool. That's cool. I love the school theme. We haven't done one yet, but I really feel like this is a year that we need one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to look at that.
Good. I see my parents pulling up in the background, and I haven't warned them about this. So I'm like texting my mom, don't come in.
That's so amazing.
So can I share the books?
Yes, please.
So
and then Spike's going to share the chat, and then
in our last 2 podcasts, we put out some topics to get people tweeting or boxing to us to give away our book, which it doesn't come out until September, so our winners will have to wait. But I will say when we talked about Periscope, we're giving away a book to Sarah Johnson, another Johnson. Love Johnson, yay! And I couldn't find the applause button on here.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
She actually just tweeted that she would like to begin to use Periscope. So not an idea of how to use it, but I think there's a bunch of us like me who haven't used it yet. So, and then we also had a topic was on an idea for a staff meeting that was thrown out in another podcast. And Melissa Kartismas, or I probably said that wrong, Kartsimas, I just met her in Illinois, shared the idea, create a scavenger hunt with teachers during the first staff meeting to cover the most important handbook info.
That's fun.
Yay, Melissa is winning a book. And then I'm throwing out the topic for the next contest to go for like the next week or two. Tweet us or Vox us with a back to school tip or your back to school nightmare. So actually, Amy, I would like to ask you, this started with Spike, which I think we all have the back to school nightmares. He just blogged about it. And then it inspired a nightmare I had last night. But Amy, what's your back to school nightmare that you have, if you've get them?
Like one that's recurring or that I worry about?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I'm going to let you guys down. I don't really have a big one. I think that this year having that teacher leave was hard, but every single year I've had a teacher leave like at some point during the year. And so I finally felt like this year, like, yeah, like change is happening all the time. Like, it's okay. We're going to be fine. Our students are resilient. There are amazing teachers out there. So, yeah, back to school nightmare. Maybe that I accidentally show up to school dressed in the 80s one day. I don't know.
Your nightmare come to life.
Yeah. Or maybe that's, something that would happen that would be so big that would take me away from my students and my staff, because I schedule nothing in week one, and I just am in classrooms all day long, out there at every duty that I can, just hanging out. So.
Don't you feel like you can't schedule anything for the first week? I always feel like the first day back with the staff and the first week back with the kids, I feel like you can't schedule anything because you have to be everywhere.
Right. Yeah. And that I've realized we're 2 weeks in now, and I can't get like work in the sense of emails, whatever we have to do. I can't do it at school anymore. I just can't. There's way better things to do, and when I'm in my office, it's like the worst thing ever. So. Yeah.
Amen, sister.
So Amy, we have some questions.
Yeah, the chat's going crazy.
Oh, yay.
Today's meet. Do you do like a meet the teacher night before you started back, or do you do like a traditional back to school night after everything gets started?
Yeah, we do. We post class lists a couple weeks before school starts, and then we just do a meet the teacher for our kindergarten families, and we also do like a couple kindergarten play dates throughout the summer just so those students can get used to campus. We do have a back to school night that's coming up this week, but it's going to look really different this year. A lot of teachers are flipping their back to school night, and Scott Bedley kind of helped us with that idea last year. So they're going to just send parents a presentation of what they need to know. And they're just going to spend some more time mingling with all the new furniture and the iPads we have coming. We just want it to be more of an informal time for Q&A. And then we do at our back to school night, we started a couple years ago out on the blacktop. We just kind of do like a fair where there's all these different booths set up of ways that parents can get connected and plugged in. And so all the different like groups have a little a little booth where parents can go by and check out what's going on. So we like that part too. So back to school night for us is really about community building and just getting that face-to-face connection. Other questions?
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
No, some people, were asking about Periscope and, different ways of connecting, the teachers, the students with the community. Have you been using Periscope, and if so, how have you been using it?
Right, so I haven't used it myself yet. I'm waiting for, we have a few more social media releases that are coming in. How awesome are those bracelets? It's so great.
Oh my gosh, I love those.
So distracting. So I've been waiting to get like my final list of my social media students who can't be online, which is always a really short list, like 15 kids throughout the whole school. But I do have a friend of mine, she's at Sheila Jane Teaching, and she periscopes for education stuff all the time. And she's come to campus a couple times, and she periscopes some teachers getting things set up and some stuff with kids. So I do anticipate that we'll be using it a little bit. But right now, what I use instead is Audio Boom. And that's where I can just like record audio, things happening in classrooms, and I can just tweet that link out right away. So our school hashtag is @PennPanthers. And if you're a principal that's interested in getting your school on Twitter. I'd be happy to connect with anyone afterwards, and you guys can scan at Penn Panthers to see kind of how we use it.
Perfect.
Right.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I say that we end with some fun 80s music and Principal peeling out.
This one's for you, Kat.
Woo!